So we talked about the industry, we talked about how some very well-known brands are using Cornerstone out there in the world, but what's our mission? What is it that we have been aspiring to do, and how can we help you? Because that's some of the reason you're here. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why Cornerstone even started. What was our point? And as you know, we truly believe in the power of potential. And our company was built from the beginning on the idea that it is possible to help people to realize that potential, that it doesn't always happen by itself. And yet there are techniques, tools, capabilities we can provide to make it a reality. And as part of that, we understood that to unlock potential, managers had to have the tools they need to empower their people. That again, it doesn't just automatically happen in every case. Sometimes it needs to be nurtured. It needs to be managed. It needs to be coached. It needs to be unlocked. And we also understood that that was the core of talent management, right? This idea that tools to help you recruit and identify the right people, bring them into the organization, help them get onboarded and connected to the company, that helping people get the right development at the right time in the right place, that helping managers effectively manage was something that would really drive a company to be successful in unlocking potential. But we also realized that employees need help. And they don't just want generic help. Employees want personalized help. Employees want to understand that what they're getting is specific for them. They're getting the tools they need at the time they need them, based on where they are in that journey. We call that talent experience. And that's why we created a talent experience platform as part of our overall solution, to ensure that employees are getting what they need at every step of their journey. And from the beginning, we've really believed that if people are given the right opportunities, they're given the right training, they're given the right mentorship and management, that they can achieve anything. There's really no limit to what you're able to do as a human. And as a result, from the beginning, we've kept our company focused on just one thing. We haven't gotten into other areas. We've stayed true to our original mission, which was to focus only on people. And so all the tools we have, everything we do, is really founded on that idea of people being at the center and development being at the core. So today, Cornerstone has 4 different product suites with content and learning really at the core. Cornerstone Recruiting, Cornerstone Learning. We now have Cornerstone Content, Cornerstone Performance, and Cornerstone HR. So I want to talk a little bit about how these different tools can actually help you achieve this objective, achieve that mission of helping you to unlock the potential of your employees. When we think about recruiting, we think about all of the changes that have happened in recruiting. Obviously, relative to 20 years ago, recruiting is dramatically different. Not only don't people use classified ads anymore, I'm not sure there are many newspapers anymore. So you couldn't even do the classified ads if you wanted to. Obviously, a decade ago, people were focused on online job boards, and that was the primary way people recruited. More recently, it was social media and leveraging social channels to recruit. Then people realized one of the best sources of talent was actually right inside the organization. Internal recruiting has become more and more important. And referrals from employees to help them recruit has become incredibly important. So recruiting is not just different than it was 20 years ago. Recruiting is actually quite different than it was 3 years ago. With the skills divide, you now have a tale of two types of recruiting. You have entry-level positions, unskilled jobs that have hundreds of applicants to every job. How do you find the right person in that haystack? On the other hand, you have very, very few candidates for the skilled jobs that are opened. How do you attract those people? How do you identify them? How do you bring them over? How do you hook them to come in? And once you have these people, how do you provide the right onboarding experience? How do you make sure that they're getting what they need and they're being onboarded most effectively and most efficiently? Cornerstone Recruiting today really enables all of those different components, from requisition management to managing career sites externally or internally, helping you with the selection process, screening candidates, being compliant throughout the entire process, managing the interview process, the offer letter process, and of course, most importantly, ensuring that you're effectively onboarding people once they do come in. And doing that in a modern interface that's engaging for the candidate and simplified for the recruiter and the hiring manager. And so to that end, we have worked on tools to make it easier for the hiring manager and the recruiter to work together, to give feedback to each other. We've worked on opening up the system. There are many, many new recruiting companies out there that do some really cool things, leveraging machine learning, leveraging AI, modern technology like chatbots to simplify the entire recruiting process. We want to make sure that we give you the opportunity to leverage some of those tools that are out there. And given the fact that we already have all your employees in the system, ensuring that the internal employees have the right candidate experience. That it's not just about the external employees, but also about your own people. You just heard from John the UPS example where it was 85% of the people identified were eligible for promotion. Think about the scale of that company, the number of people hired each year at a company like UPS, and the savings possible by promoting more people rather than going external to hire. And think about the productivity benefits of having a company where people realize that if they do good work, if they do perform, they have the ability to move up. They do get more opportunity. They don't need to leave the organization. That's very powerful. That drives massive productivity, massive profitability, and enables companies to remain agile and to keep performing. There's also the importance of development. We started in learning, we've stayed true to learning, and we believe that at the core of what we do, the best way for somebody to realize their potential is to learn, is to be given access to the opportunities to develop. And as we all know, people develop different ways. Some people have short attention spans. They want short bursts of learning. Others prefer longer form content. Some people like watching videos. Other people like listening. Other people want to be in person. There's an enormous opportunity to develop people effectively if you were able to understand what kind of content is most relevant to that person. So we've spent a lot of time and energy and capital to really build out personalization around employee development. to ensure that we're helping curate the right content and deliver the right content to the right people. And so when we think about learning management and we think about learning experience, we think about that holistic need to develop an employee at every step of their career. Not just the first week on the job, but for their entire life. These could be all different modalities of training. Could be a mix of content, blended learning, certification programs, internal designations, the need to do on-the-job training, to connect with other people in the organization, informal learning that's happening, and getting insights on that training to ensure compliance, ensure the right content's available, and ensure that learning is happening in the flow of work. We think about this differently than we did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there were not smartphones. 20 years ago, there was not a whole lot of online training. 20 years ago, we didn't spend our time at home on social media and at work on a wide variety of software tools, depending on our function, that enable us to effectively do our job. And so the way we think about learning today is very different than the way we used to think about learning. We realize that the solution must deal with all of those realities, and that we have to understand the reality about how people develop. We want to provide a holistic solution, one that includes not just the compliance training that's required for the employees, to keep them safe, to lower risk, to ensure compliance and meet regulatory requirements. But we also want to make sure employees have a great learning experience so that they could find the content that they want, that they could find the things that they need. But we've also realized that to do that truly effectively, we have to also give you the content. We have to make it easy for you to have a wide array of content in multiple languages, at multiple lengths, to enable multiple modalities, to enable the right playlists, the right learning paths for different people depending on where they are in their career journey. And so to do this, we've introduced Cornerstone Content Anytime, a collection of content that enables people to have a highly curated experience, a true subscription, the same way that we do at home, whether we're watching video on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, or we're listening to music on Pandora or Spotify or Apple Music. This week, Apple announced that they're starting to discontinue iTunes. Why? Because the whole world's moved to subscriptions. We don't buy albums. We don't even buy songs anymore. We subscribe to things. We have unlimited access to consume the content that we want. Why isn't the same thing true for learning and development? Most of the online content today is video-based. Why can't we subscribe and get whatever kind of content we want at our fingertips, working on any device, available anytime, from anywhere in the world, in multiple languages with different topics, to go narrow and skim the content and subject matter, or to dive deep and develop mastery of the subject matter? That is the vision behind Content Anytime. We've taken this very seriously by allowing a full ecosystem of content. We'll be developing our own original content. We're partnering with the top brands in training, like Sandler for sales training, to deliver content through partners that we develop jointly. We acquired last year a company called Grovo, the world's leader in micro-learning, because we understood through the data that we have that people were taking content in shorter and shorter doses. So whereas when Cornerstone started, online training were 16-week courses meant to replicate the university experience, today some of the most popular content is 3 minutes long. And so we now have an amazing library of micro-learning that we're working on localizing into multiple languages so that we could share it with our clients all around the world. And maybe most importantly, we are partnering with the top brands in the world and some content providers you've never heard of to enable us to deliver best-in-class content across many, many, many different subject areas, whether it's vertically based content or specific content for different subject areas. So the Content Anytime subscriptions today are around professional skills, what you need for every single employee in an organization, the things you would expect every employee to already know. Leadership and management, meant to help whether it's first-time managers be effective at their role or experienced managers become true leaders for your organization. Digital fluency, to help drive digital transformation initiatives at companies around the world. Helping your employees understand what's design thinking all about. How do you think like a product manager? How do you leverage the tools and technologies that are out there? How do you understand how to leverage the power of the kind of predictive analytics that are available now? To use it to recommend and not decide. To understand when to trust the data and when to be skeptical. Modern compliance, we all know that the way we think about social norms today is vastly different than content from 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. Social norms are very different today. What's allowable, what's acceptable is very different. So compliance content needs to be modern. It can't be old. It's got to be delivered by the right people who represent the kinds of biases that we're talking about and understand how to think in the modern world and how to operate in the modern world. What is the right ethics and behavior to have today? And how do we make sure that people understand that social norms have changed? And also, how do we dig deep into things like sales and customer relationships? Not just cursory understanding of how to sell or how to interact with clients or customers, but how do you go deep? How do you understand how to negotiate, how to manage pipelines, how to provide world-class service? All of that becomes important. So we think about learning holistically now. We think about the combination of learning management and learning experience and content subscriptions to provide a holistic solution